So, welcome back to another episode of Analyzing Awfulness, where we break down whether or not the OP is in the right or the wrong, while offering unsolicited advice regarding the situations. Today we'll be talking about a woman that declines being a bridesmaid in her brother's wedding, once asked by his fiancé who is reaping what she sows. What do I mean? It reads, my 26 female brother James, 27 male, recently got engaged to his fiancée Laura, 32 female. My brother and I have always been super close. Throughout the years he had many girlfriends and I generally made it a point to get along with them. Given you two are extremely close in age, there is a possibility that you may share friends as well. So this makes a lot of sense. It's also just a super mature thing to do. These girls are important to your brother and may have a big part of his life, so there's the chance that you'd be in situations where you would have to interact with them anyway. So far so good, moving on. I liked the vast majority of them, so that task wasn't that hard. I had good and close relationships with most of them while they were still dating James, and remain in close contact with two even after their breakup, with James' permission of course. One being his high school girlfriend Diane, 26 female, and the second one being his baby mom Sophie, 29 female. This makes sense, but honestly you don't need his permission to keep close with people that you probably developed a real friendships with. Controversial opinion, but I think it's silly to drop friendships because family members' relationships didn't work. Unless, of course, something like abuse was involved. Since you name dropped these girls, I'm going to go ahead and assume that they will be important to the story. Sophie because she's the baby mama, so there could be some conflict between her and Laura to some regard, and Diane, someone close to both your ages, and probably has been a part of your lives outside of the dating because of that, especially if out of how many number of girls James has been with, she's the only one that doesn't have skin in the game that you have a continued friendship with. By skin in the game, I'm referring to the baby, just want to make that clear. When James started dating Laura 2 years ago, I also tried to get close to her, but I just couldn't bring myself to befriend her. Laura and I are completely different people and have little to nothing in common. She isn't a bad person by any means, but just not someone I would want to hang out with or talk to on a day-to-day basis. This is fair. You can't force connection where there isn't one, not without both parties truly trying to do so anyway. If there aren't any hobbies, likes, or interests in common, if you're complete polar opposites, there isn't anything to tie you two together and make forming a connection easier. At the end of the day, she made James happy and was a decent stepmom to my nephew Rio, 4 male, so me liking her as a person wasn't really important. I also had little to no interactions with her, since whenever I visited James at their apartment, she would claim she was too busy to hang out with us, so I would mostly only see her during family reunions / holidays. See, this is what I mean by both parties have to be willing to establish a foundation that's open to building into some semblance of a friendship. If she isn't going out of her way to befriend you, and instead seems to be practicing avoidance, then that's how you lose a relationship and not build one, which is why it's in the negative side of Nap's relationship model. After they got engaged, Laura asked me to be her bridesmaid. I refused since I already had a part in the wedding as the groom's sister, was happy with my current position, and didn't feel like spending thousands to go on a bachelorette trip where I didn't know anyone. You have every right to refuse. You have no connection to her, and if you are content where you are in the wedding, as you support your brother, then that's what matters most, especially if he's fine with that as well. You don't have the kind of connection that should have her feeling as if you would say yes. She never reached out to form it, and now she's reaping the consequences of what she never sowed. Last month, James' ex Diane also got engaged and asked me to be her maid of honor. I agreed, since Diane has been a close friend of mine for years, and I was honored that she wanted me to have such an important role in her wedding. I had a feeling OP and Diane would have had a closer friendship than just being friends because she dated her brother, due to the two of them having a similar age, and I'm glad that I was right. This is demonstrating what I said earlier here as well. Laura never sowed into a friendship with you, OP, so she had no benefits to reap. Diane did, however, and the fruits of that relationship is shown in her asking you to be her maid of honor, showing how significant you are to her. If you guys want people to be there for you whenever you ask, you have to show that you are there for them and build that relationship friendship from there. There was no foundation between Laura and OP, nothing to build off of, and this is the result of that. When Laura heard about this, she called me saying that I was really immature for rejecting her request to be a bridesmaid but agreeing to be Diane's maid of honor. I told her that Diane was my childhood friend, so it was different. Laura then began to interrogating me and ask if Diane and James were the ones getting married, would I also refuse her request and be content with only being the groom's sister in the wedding party. I told her that that situation was irrelevant since it'll never happen. Laura continued to bombard me with questions before I finally told her that as her future sister-in-law, my only obligation towards her is to treat her with respect, and I'm already doing that. So I don't understand what more she could want from me. So Laura being mad is understandable to a degree. She's probably stressed about the wedding, feeling like asking OP to be a bridesmaid would be an honor for her, and was hurt whenever she rejected. She most likely accepted that answer and attempted to justify it herself. Then whenever she learned that OP was going to be a part of Diane's wedding, her fiance's ex, her justification no longer held up, or jealousy turned anger and a feeling of betrayal. You had every right in the world to tell her that your only obligation is to treat her with respect, even though technically you have no obligation to do that either. You are doing it out of respect for your brother, which I can respect. That being said, OP, you should have worded it a little better if you wanted a better outcome. Tensions were high, that I understand, but it most likely served to hurt her even more. You could have gotten the point across in a better way. Say that you are trying to respect her because you care about her, and you care about her because your brother does. Explain that you two just aren't that close, so you don't feel comfortable having that part in her wedding. Tell her that you would be okay with getting to know her, but as of right now, that friendship just isn't there. I don't know how you usually speak or how she takes certain words, so these are just random examples that you would have to interpret and reword yourself, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say here with these placeholders. After hearing that, Laura ended the call and blocked my number. Her friends are now harassing me and telling me how awful I am for saying that to Laura. I'm genuinely confused since I don't think I've said anything remotely awful or offensive, but I might be missing something. Am I the a-hole? You are not the booty hole, but as I said, you could have worded how you felt a little better. We also don't know how Laura herself interpreted what you said, or what she told her friends based on that interpretation. That's why, as I learned just about every dad blame day, you gotta be careful when it comes to what you say, and make sure to take into account who it is that you're saying it to. That being said, Laura had no right to jump on your case about the decision that you made. She has no stakes in your life, as she is barely a part of it, and has no right to question you on what you choose to do. If she wanted you as a bridesmaid in the wedding, she should have worked to make you feel like it would be an honor to be asked, instead of just assuming you would accept it without any personal emotions being tied to her request. You should discuss this with your brother though. There's a chance he actually is the one that wanted you as a bridesmaid, and that he has no idea how Laura and her friends have responded to the situation. You should definitely compile evidence of the things they have said as well. One thing I've learned as a YouTuber is people will twist the truth and change the evidence if they can. If there's nothing to back your story up, there is a chance your brother would take Laura's side if she intentionally or not lies about the situation. I still do believe jealousy could be a huge factor in this as well. Laura may be insecure about her relationship with James, and whenever she found out you chose his ex's offer over hers, it could have triggered that insecurity even more. If she feels like she pales in comparison to Diane, and now knows that her fiance's sister even prefers that ex, that would be a hard pill to swallow, and I can imagine she wouldn't have taken it well, especially right before she marries the man she feels like she may not be good enough for. Whatever happens, just make sure to clear the air with your brother before Laura gets there first. If it seems like you are hiding the interaction from him, then it may cause some friction in your relationship while also making it harder for him to take your side. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have a great day. Thank you.